Hey guys, Prowl 1701 here. Today we're going to be reviewing the Doctor Who novel Engines of War, which of course is set during the Time War and stars the War Doctor in it. And I really enjoyed this one. One, it gave me a chance kind of to flesh out the War Doctor a little more, since I really just know him from his appearance in Day of the Doctor. I've never heard any of the audios with him in it. So it's nice to see a little more of his Doctor in action. He has a girl he meets that's kind of his companion for the story named Char, and I really like her a lot. She's a very fleshed out character. She's actually fleshed out better than any of 13's characters in the show. Got a lot of... It does a really good job of getting you invested in her backstory very easily. There's some exposition, but it's written well into the story. I think that just works better in novel form than in TV form, because, you know, in a book, you're not having to, you don't have a time constraint. You're not having to fit something into a 25-minute format or a 45-minute format or an hour format. You know, people read at their own pace, and I enjoy that. So it does a good job of learning how she comes from a planet that was invaded by the Daleks and subjugated by the Daleks. All of her family was killed. Her world was pretty much turned into a rubble. And she's just been kind of a scavenger with a few other humans fighting to survive and just killing Daleks. Her and the Doctor have a really good rapport together. I really like them together, watching their bond form over the story, which actually forms pretty quickly. And watching her grow to trust him, and him, especially since this is the War Doctor, the very war-weary, because this is him when he's, more this age, when he's older. The war is set heavy with him. Kind of doesn't like having people with him now, because he doesn't like having to protect them and being worried he might lose them. So watching him grow to be more protective of her is really neat. And they have a lot of really humorous moments. You don't think of the War Doctor as being this humorous, although he does have some little funny lines in Day of the Doctor. But his humor, it's nice to know that his humor does still exist in this incarnation. I know there's at one point when Char has been subjected to the mind probe on Gallifrey, because they do go to Gallifrey at one point, and the Doctor doesn't realize it until later. He wasn't able to stop it, but she wasn't killed by it. She survived it, and she's talking to the Doctor, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, I'm impressed. That you came through that as well as you did. A lot of other people who are far more intelligent than you wouldn't have came out so well." And she's like, "Gee, thanks. I appreciate that." He's like, no, I meant it as a compliment. She goes, "Oh, of course, it sounds just like a compliment." And he goes, "You are the most extraordinary young woman." She's like, "See, that's a compliment." And there are those little moments like that where they do kind of needle each other, pick at each other, the way the Doctor and some of the best companions can. And it's neat that they're able to build this rapport so successfully just over the course of this novel. So I really like her a lot. The Daleks in it are neat. There's this one little group of Daleks. They're kind of like the Cult of Skaro, but not quite. I forget what they're called. They're like the Eternity Circle or something like that. And kind of like the Cult of Skaro, their job is to come up with kind of new ideas throughout time itself and figure out where things need to get allocated all throughout time. Because the Time War talks about how the war is happening not just on space fronts, but time fronts, all these different moments in time. And the book is also really good at showing the War Doctor start to realize just how bad of a path the Time Lords have gotten on. It kind of shows what leads him up to the decision to find the moment and destroy all of them, because he starts to realize the Time Lords have become just as bad as the Daleks. Because at the beginning of the story, he's working with the Time Lords. He's actually attacking in a battle with other Time Lords who are attacking Daleks in a space battle. Whereas by the end of the story, he knows he can't trust them anymore. That happens over the course of the story. Just part of the story does take place on Gallifrey, where he goes to warn the Time Lords, because the Daleks actually have a new weapon, and he goes to warn the Time Lords about the weapon, which of course has Rassilon there, Timothy Dalton's version of Rassilon, who's actually a little cordial with the Doctor at the beginning, but quickly kind of goes downhill. And all of the events that happen on Rassilon, which I won't spoil, they're really good. But it does a good job of bringing another Time Lord from the classic series back into the mix in a way that I didn't think was possible, considering how that character's story went in the classic series. It does a pretty good job of bringing them back into the mix, which I really liked. But it's interesting to see that this is pretty much the moment when the Doctor learns just what the Time Lords have become and how they're no better than the Daleks. It's very... He starts to realize the same thing that Kes knew in Night of the Doctor. When he's talking to her, he's like, "That's a TARDIS, yes, you'll love it. You're a Time Lord, yes, but I'm one of the nice ones." And how she just at me is like, when she shuts the door on him, he's like, "At least I'm not a Dalek." She's like, "Who can tell the difference anymore?" You start to see the Doctor kind of learns exactly where she's coming from, but because even he makes comparisons between them and the Daleks. You know, if you do this, because the Time Lords basically determine a course of action they're going to take, and the Doctor's like, "If you do this, then you're no better than the Daleks. There's no difference between you and the Daleks." So this is the Doctor pretty much learning the exact same thing that Kes said to him in Night of the Doctor, that they're pretty much mirror images of each other at this point, for the most part. The Castellan has a really good moment. I like the Castellan in this one, who is better than the Castellan we last saw, because that Castellan died, I think, in the Five Doctors. So this new Castellan, I actually really like him. He's a bit of a... he doesn't have much of a backbone, but when the chips are down, he actually does have a really good moment, which I really liked. Nice to see a Castellan I can respect again, because the only Castellan I think I've ever really liked on the show is the one from Deadly Assassin. I like that one a lot. Never cared much for the others. So that was really neat. And to see the Daleks, it does a good job of showing you again how dangerous and deadly the Daleks are. They're wiping out entire planets to fulfill their plan, which I don't want to go into. I don't want to spoil it. You should read the book. Like they have two major plans going on. One is a threat to Gallifrey, and the other one is a threat to the Doctor. And the one that's a threat to Gallifrey is just a neat concept and a neat idea. And then the other one that's a threat to the Doctor is also interesting. I'm kind of surprised the Daleks never tried pursuing that again, actually. And then they come up with this neat weapon that, like, if you shoot a person with it, it hits them with this blinding light and vaporizes them. And not only do they vaporize and disappear, but everyone forgets they ever knew that person for the most part. Like, that person still existed, people just forget about them. It's kind of like when the Doctor loses his memory of Clara, but everybody forgets about you. If you get killed this way, you know, the bed you slept in might still be there, and they might have a tingling in the back of their head that something's wrong, but they don't actually remember you. That's pretty neat. It's kind of like the Special Weapons Dalek from Battlefield, but this one has a cannon that shoots those little light beams that erase you from history, basically, or erase people's knowledge or memory of you from history, which is pretty neat. Interesting concept, is utilized well in the story. I liked it. It's interesting how the Doctor's final words in the story, the last two words are, you know, "no more." You know, he's kind of reached that point where something's got to give. He realizes right there at the end, you know, all of time is burning. Something's got to be done. So that we kind of see him taking these first steps towards trying to find a way to solve this no matter what, because time itself is not going to last much longer. Everything's going to be destroyed. And we also see kind of Rassilon's plan to transcend the physical plane and become creatures of conscience. We kind of see him taking steps towards that as well. That's explored, which is really neat. I enjoyed the book. It was a really nice book. Again, I really like the companion character of Char, which she has red hair, is where she gets her name. I find her really well fleshed out. I like learning more about the War Doctor, and I really enjoy the rapport they have together. That's better than the 13th Doctor and Yaz, who were supposed to be in love with each other, but we've never really had that relationship built. They never earned it. The War Doctor and this character earned their friendship, which is what it is. It's a friendship. They earn that more, which again, it's a book, so you can kind of have a little more flexibility and time to develop that, but it develops better over this book than the Chibnall era has developed any of its companion relationships with the Doctor over 3.5 seasons. Is what it is, I guess. But yeah, the Engines of War with the War Doctor. I did enjoy it. I want to thank one of my subscribers, Unknown289, who's also one of my patrons, for sending it. It's one of several things he's actually sent to me, which I really appreciate. If there's anything you would like to send me, my P.O. Box is down in the description below, as is a link to my Amazon wish list, which I update regularly. I also do have a Patreon if you would like to support me on that. If you enjoy my content and like what I do, it has all sorts of different rewards depending on tiers and all that. I also would appreciate if you just click the like button and click the subscribe button. That helps me out a lot. I'm really trying to grow the channel, and trying to cross that 750 mark has been a bit of a hurdle. I've been hovering around like the 747, 748, 749 for a while, so I'm really trying to cross over that 750 mark and maybe get up to 800 soon. So that would help me out. Most importantly, though, thank you for watching.